My kindergarten teacher told me I'd never learn to read. 20 years later, I handed her my first published novel. I was 6 years old when Mrs. Peterson told my mother I was fundamentally incapable of literacy during a parent-teacher conference. I sat outside the classroom, legs swinging beneath the too-tall chair, but the door wasn't thick enough to block her verdict on my future. Some children simply lack the cognitive framework for reading, she explained with the confidence of someone who'd been teaching for 30 years. Emma might be better suited for a vocational track eventually. Something with her hands, perhaps my crime. I couldn't master the alphabet. Letters jumped and switched places when I looked at them. B and D were identical twins playing tricks on me. Words were puzzles where the pieces kept changing shape. What Mrs. Peterson didn't know paired what nobody knew in 1998 at our small-town elementary school. That was that I had dyslexia, not laziness, not stupidity, just a brain wired differently than what her teaching manual prepared her for. My mother, a single parent who dropped out of high school, nodded politely during that meeting, but that night I found her at our kitchen table with a stack of library books about learning disabilities and alternative education methods. She'd circled a word I couldn't read, dyslexia. The teacher's wrong about you, Mom said, showing me a page with brain diagrams. Your mind just works differently, and we're going to figure it out together. What followed was 2 years of my mother working double shifts at the diner to pay for specialized tutoring. Every night, no matter how exhausted she was, we'd practice with colored overlays, special fonts, and techniques the tutor had taught us. Letters still danced, but slowly I learned to make them stand still. By 3rd grade I could read, not well, not quickly, but I could decode those mysterious symbols that had once seemed like hieroglyphics from an alien civilization. By 5th grade I discovered that stories were worth the struggle. I fell in love with worlds hidden inside books. Reading remained difficult. It always has paired, but I developed strategies and stubborn determination. What no one expected was that writing would come more naturally than reading. When I wrote, I could control the words. They didn't jump or trick me. By high school I was filling journals with stories, poems, and ideas. My English teachers were baffled by how someone who reads so slowly could write so beautifully. I majored in creative excess in college, using text-to-speech software for readings and extra time for exams, but it had become a companion rather than an enemy. During my senior year I wrote a novel about a young girl who could see words as living creatures, part some friendly, some mischievous, some terrifying. It was fantasy wrapped around my reality. After graduation I spent 2 years revising it while working as a barista. Then came the email that changed everything. A literary agent wanted to represent me. 6 months later, my debut novel Dancing Letters sold to a major publisher. The book received attention for its unique perspective on language and literacy. In interviews I began speaking openly about my dyslexia, becoming an accidental advocate for learning differences. After a book signing in Chicago, my hometown newspaper ran a feature story. That's when I received an unexpected Facebook message. I believe I was your kindergarten teacher, is that possible? Minus Margaret Peterson? My hands shook as I replied, confirming her suspicion. Her response came quickly. I followed your success in the paper. I'm both thrilled for you and ashamed of myself. The limitations I placed on you have haunted my teaching career. I wonder if we might meet when you are next in town. 2 weeks later I found myself back at Lakeside in Append, sitting in the same office where my mother had been told I had no future with books. Mrs. Peterson had retired years ago, but had arranged for us to use the space. She looked smaller than I remembered her once. Dark hair, now completely white. When I placed my novel on the table between us, her eyes welled with tears. I was wrong about you, she said simply. Catastrophically wrong. You were working with the knowledge you had, I replied, surprising myself with my lack of resentment. That's generous of you, but it's not enough. I should have seen potential instead of limitation. She touched the cover of my book. How many other students did I fail this way? We talked for 2 hours about dyslexia, about teaching methods that had evolved, about the power of expectations. Before leaving, I signed her copy. To Mrs. Peterson, thank you for being part of my story. Even the difficult chapters, they made the happy ending that much sweeter. She's now volunteering with a dyslexia advocacy group, helping train teachers to recognize signs she missed in me. As for me, my second novel comes out next month. It still takes me twice as long to read a book as most people. I still sometimes write words backward when I am tired, but every struggle with language has made me more precise, more creative, more determined to get the words exactly right. Sometimes I wonder who I would be if Mrs. Peterson had seen possibility instead of limitation all those years ago, but then I remember her underestimation became my greatest motivation.